So we click on that file. Okay, and it opens. Let's enable editing. We can obviously put the author and the date in the documentation. Okay, what I want you to note about this is up above we see compatibility mode. What does that mean? What do you think that means? What do we see in the name of the file? We see compatibility mode. Does anyone notice why we would have that? Alex?
The document was created in like an older version of Excel.
It was, okay? If you notice when we opened that document up, God bless you, it had docs.xls as, go ahead.
You said it was case 1 when you get XLA, correct?
No, tutorial.
Okay.
And it had .xls, which is from a previous version of Excel. So it says, hey, this is an older file, but I can still work with it, so I'm in compatibility mode. So if I go to Backstage View, I click File, and I click Save As. You see right now it's an Excel 97 2003 workbook, which was the .xls. If I want to use the full functionality of the current version of Excel, I'm going to do a Save As Excel workbook. I'm just going to call this one Country Records Miko and click Save. And sometimes you'll see that, like if you bring up an old file and then you put some things in it, maybe like a pivot table or some high-end things and try to save it, it'll say, hey, you're saving an old format. You're going to lose some of the formatting or whatever it is because you're saving it as an old format. Generally speaking, save in the most current format, okay? Unless there's someone that you're working with that doesn't have the ability to open the new version, right? Then you have to save down, okay? So we see that on occasion. Let us then switch to the data worksheet. And we have a bunch of information here, and it's not exactly it's a table of information, common. Maybe I got it from a text delimited file or a common delimited file, but it's not going to be exactly in the order that I want it. So let's make this a table. It is a table, so let's highlight it all, go to Insert, and let's click on Table. And let's call this table over in the Properties area, let's call it Tip Table. Let's get rid of the filter. I don't really need that, so go to Data, click on Filter, and get rid of that. Now, I want to go through, maybe it's in Blackboard, I want to go through some text functions. And some of them we're going to use, and some of them I just want to let you know that they're out there. We've used some text functions, but there are a whole lot of text functions that can be useful when we get text from a source that we're not so sure of. And the first one we can use, and I might as well just do it over here, is let's put a column in between zip and phone. Okay, let's put a column in between zip and phone. So I'm going to highlight F, right click, and say insert. And it's going to insert, by default, it's going to insert a column to the left. And now, if I'm trying to analyze this data by zip code, I'm trying to sort it by zip code, or maybe use zip code in a pivot table where I'm grouping all the zip codes. I want to see what people in, Los Angeles are doing versus San Antonio or New York City. What's one of the problems with using that field the way it sits right now? With using the zip field right now? What's the problem with doing that the way it sits right now? If I did it, for example, 2895 is the same place, 2895, 1222 is the same place as 2895, 12125, but it's a different house, right? Same town, different house. I don't want to go down to the house level, right? I want to just sort it by town. So how can I massage that so that it is one format? What could I do? Just tell me, verbally, what would you do? What do I need to remove?
1, 2, 2 part.
Yeah, I need to get rid of the end. Okay, so the way I can do that is there are string functions. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's just say zip5, we'll call it. There are string functions that'll let us parse out portions of a string or text. And one we can use is called left. And left, we give it the string, the input string, and how many characters we want it to return. So in this case, we want E2, and we want the first 5 characters. I hit enter, and it didn't do anything for me. Did yours work? Equals left, E2, comma 5. Equal left. Did anyone's work? Yes, no? No?
I got mine to work.
How'd you do it?
I formatted my cell as number and then hit enter again and it worked.
That didn't work for me.
Didn't work for me either.
You need to format like the zip column as number, because then it worked for me that way.
But you shouldn't.
Hit left, like hit the cell and then
What was zip defined as originally? Was it defined as a number or it was text? So this should work because this is a text function, a string function. I don't like it. It's phone. Let's undo that. All right, I want to try something different. I think maybe because the way I inserted that, it got the properties of the phone. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to go back, undo to the beginning, just because I want to see something. Okay. I'm going to try it right here. I'm going to try. So I'm back to the start of the data file, and I didn't change anything. It's as it is naturally. Let's try lefting that zip file now. So I'm going to say equal left, and I'm going to choose E2, and I want the first 5 characters. Okay, and it worked. And it built me a column. And that column is general. If I do the same thing, however, if I insert a column here, this column is text. I do left E2, comma 5. It stays that way. Yeah, it has to do with, it does have to do with that format of the cell. Just kind of quirky how it's working because if it's general, I guess it treats it as a number and gives us a number back. If it's text, it seems to be leaving a formula in there, which is not how I would expect it to work. Maybe when it's text to begin with, and I put in the equal sign, it doesn't recognize it as a function. Do you know what I'm saying? It recognizes it as like me trying to write a sentence, like equal left. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't recognize the equal. But didn't it? It actually brought up the parameters for left, though, didn't it? When I typed it in, so that doesn't make sense. All right. Anyways, I'm really kind of at a loss for this one. But anyways, that's a way where we can get the leftmost from zip code. There's also right. Okay, so if we want to do something, and we'll just do it over here, like for example, we want to pull off the last 3 characters of parcel ID. Maybe that means something. Maybe sometimes in numbers if it ends in 2, it means this. So let's do right A2, comma A2, comma 3. So let's pick the rightmost characters off there, and it does that. If we want to put things in certain case, okay, if you want to take a text string and put it in certain case, there are functions to do that. If we do equal upper and we give it a text, so let's do D2, which is the city and state. Okay, it returns the same stuff, but obviously all of it is in uppercase. Same thing will work if we do lower, so equal lower. Let's do last name, and that'll put everything in lowercase. Now, a lot of times, when you write your name or when you do something, you want the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters lowercase. There is a function to do that. Let's do it to last name. It is called proper, equal proper, and I think that was in, what, C2? So it'll take Eaton, which was in all uppercase, and we'll make the first letter uppercase and all the rest lowercase. Sometimes I want to work, before I do these functions, I want to determine how long a string is. Okay? Sometimes I want to determine how long a string is. So the way I can do that is there's a function called length, or len. So let's do last name again. So I'm going to say equal length, and we'll do C2. And it shows the various lengths of last names, 5, 5, 9, 7, boom, 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 boom. Okay? That can come in handy when I want to determine how much I have to edit, or if it's too long, or if they've entered something too long in a box. If we want to find something in a string to see if something exists, well, there's a function called search. So I'm going to hide some of these middle things so we can see everything. If, for example, we want to see if someone has, I don't know, RI in their city-state line, okay, which I guess means Rhode Island. Do they all have Rhode Island? Looks like they do. Let's pick Wakefield. Let's pick Wakefield. Okay, let's make sure that, let's see if we can search for Wakefield. So there's a function called equal search. And we first put in it whatever we want to find. So in our case, we want to find Wakefield. And we say, okay, where do you want to find that? Well, we want to find that in D2. And let's just hit enter. Okay, so what you can see, the ones with Wakefield return a 1. The ones without Wakefield return an error. Okay, so we can capture that with what if error. We could say no Wakefield. I might as well do it. Let's do it. So I think this will work if we say if search. Whoops. Before search, if we put in if error, let's put in nope. Okay, so the ones that have Wakefield put a 1 in there. The ones that don't, we have nope because it returns an error. What that's good for is because you don't always know where certain things are. Like if we were to look for, this all has Rhode Island, but Rhode Island isn't always in the same place, right? So we can't say like pick the 7th character over, but this allows us to find where RI is, right? 7th character over, and parse it out and say, hey, this is Rhode Island. Same thing for like things like junior, people put after name. It's not always in the same position. We can look for junior, the 3rd. We can look for doctor. We can look for miss, okay, things like that inside, and it can give us the starting position of that text. This can also be useful. We can trim. Okay, so if let's just do a function. If I use trim and I give it a text string, and I'm just going to give it like space, 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 John, space, 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 Miko, space, space, space. What trim does, hit enter. What trim does is gets rid of extra spaces that are before the string and extra spaces after the string, and any additional spaces between. Okay, so I put like 3 spaces before John, 3 spaces after Miko, 3 spaces between. It got rid of the extra spaces in front, the extra spaces in back, and also trimmed it. So that is one thing we can do. Let's work with our name. Okay, so a lot of times we get data, and it's best to get data as parsed as possible. In this case, we got it with first name and last name in 2 separate fields, but we want to put one field that is their entire name. So we have addition or add for numbers. How can we put strings together? What's string addition? What's the symbol for string addition? Did we talk about this before? Okay, concatenation is done in Excel with an ampersand. So if I did this, if I said equal B2 ampersand C2. Okay, equal B2 ampersand C2. Now it's going to give me something, but not really what I want in the end. It's going to give me both of those strings put together. So now I have Graham, Eaton, Roxanne, Orlug. Okay, hard to say because I don't have the spaces. So how could I fix this up? What if I wanted it this way first? You know, a lot of times when we want to sort things alphabetically, I want it last name, comma, first name. And I want it to be in the proper uppercaseness. So how would I do that? I want it last name, comma, first name, and I want it in the proper case. So I would say equal proper C2, that'll give me last name. And then I need the ampersand, because I need to concatenate something. Now between last name and first name, what is the string between last name and first name? Comma and a space. So to give it a string, I'm going to say, okay, put in a comma and then a space, ampersand, and then add that to proper B2.
You have to put proper twice.
Well, you do, because the proper is doing what? It is making it the proper case. And the first proper just does C2.
Oh,
Right,
I
it's-
thought it was
it's-
like the whole.
No. We could probably do it within, yeah, we probably could do equal proper, open it up. Let's try that. Let's make sure this works first. That might make only the first thing capitalized. Okay, that looks like what we want. Okay. Eaton, Graham, that looks good. If I did it, I know what you're saying, Cordell, and that may work. What if I did this? Yeah, it works too. Yeah. Does the same thing. Okay, a lot of times when we get something like this, what we're doing is the data that we received, wasn't good data to begin with, right? It was in some format that wasn't good for us. So we make it into something else, right? But what happens when I copy and paste this somewhere? What happens when I copy and paste this over a row? What is behind all these things? What is behind this last name, first name? Behind it is a formula, right? And I don't want it to treat as a formula. I use the formula to get this data, but I want it to end because this is the data I want. I don't want last name, first name anymore, right? I don't want to use that anymore. I want to create a new field that's name, okay? And it looks like this. So I could just leave it alone, but another thing I could do is I could take all of this information and copy it. Let's copy it right to the side, but I want to paste it special. And how do I want to paste it special so that the formulas are gone? So that when I copy this somewhere else, it's not trying to do concatenate two strings, it's just saying it is what it is. How do I make it non-formula but actual values? I want to do paste it as. Now, if I paste it as values, okay, you'll see there's a difference here now. Okay, this is just values. Because remember, I said I got this data and it wasn't really what I wanted, so maybe I want to get rid of last name. I said, well, I don't like the way that came in, I want to delete it. Well, if I delete it, it's going to screw up that new column I created. But it doesn't screw up this one because this is already values, right? This one isn't based on the formula anymore. So that's the only way I could do that. So a lot of times we do that as we get data that we're not happy with. Okay. Another thing, sometimes, there's string functions we can use to try to pull this out. But we can also use Excel, same way we used Excel when we got a delimited file. Sometimes we get columns that are delimited in some way and we want to undelimit them. We want to parse them out, they call that. So let's click on cell D2 and let's insert a table column to the left. So click on the whole column and then say insert column. Now I want you to highlight E2 to E51. Let's go to data. And under the Data Tools grouping, I want you to click on Text to Columns. Okay. And it gives us a preview of that. Now it says, the text wizard has determined that your data is delimited. If this is correct, choose next. Is our data delimited? It is, right? Because it's not always in the same place. If it were RI was always in position 12, it would be fixed width, but it's not. It is delimited. Click Next. Just like the wizard we used when we imported text files. And what is the delimiter that we want to tell it about? Comma. Okay. Next, destination is E2. Let's make the destination D2. And Let's click Finish. Click OK. Okay, now you'll see it unparsed it for me. And now I have the city in column D and the state in column E. Okay, so two things. Sometimes data comes in and it's too granular, meaning it's separated too much for our purposes. So we can split it, right? Or we can add things that we can add together with the ampersand. And sometimes it is too coarse, meaning there's too much in one field. We can split it using this column to columns or text to columns. Let's see what else is in this section I'd like to do. Let's say we want to look at this parcel ID field. And let's work with that a little bit. And another string we can use is something called substitute. And what we're going to do here is we're going to look at A2, which is our parcel ID, and it says old text, new text. What we want to do is we only want the number part of this string. Like sometimes people use dashes, and maybe they use them in the proper place, and sometimes they don't. So what I'm going to do here is the old text is a dash. I'm going to replace that with nothing. So I put in 2 quotes. I click the end button or the close parenthesis. And now you'll see what it's done. For the ones that have dashes, the dashes are gone. I reformatted them to just be, so now it's a little bit more consistent, okay? Because sometimes we may get people to type in dashes, and sometimes people do not. If we wanted to make this, and the book doesn't do this, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters. Say we wanted to make this always four numbers dash 4 numbers. Okay, 4 numbers dash 4 numbers. How can we do that? Give me one way we could do that. I always want to make it the same. 4 numbers dash 4 numbers, or slash 4 numbers. Let's say slash. What tool would you do to do that? So I want to make it standardized, but I want to put a slash in there in the middle. Go ahead.
Like use left and right.
I could use left and right. So I could say how. So I could say equal left. Let's hope left works this time. Left of B2. I want the first 4 characters, right? See if this works. Okay, that gave me 1137, which is good. That worked. I always want to have a slash in there, so I'm going to add on what?
Ampersand and then slash.
Okay. That'll give me the first 4 in a slash. But I also want the last 4, so ampersand.
Right.
Last 4. So now I have it as that crazy format that I wanted. Another way we could do that is, we've done that a little bit. We have created custom formats. So let's go to the original. Okay, let's go to B2. And let's do format cells. It brings up a lot of different formats. Let's go to custom. And let's try this. No, it didn't work. I'm not sure. All right, I'm going to leave off there because I can't get that working. We have about 10 minutes left.